earn a living, I've got to earn money, I've got to look after my family. So there's some realistic things. But nothing really stops you from developing the other roles in your life, except yourself. So you can change. Remember, if you put the ideas in there, you nurture them and you develop them, you can achieve the other things. And you'll find, look at many of the successful people that we've seen globally. You know, they started off in one thing and they end up doing something completely different. They reinvent themselves. In fact, reinvention and creativity is actually core towards success. You can't just do the same thing for the rest of your life in many ways. You know, technology, if anything, is exactly reinvention. And so therefore, to reinvent yourself and redevelop yourself is actually, I think, the correct kind of approach towards living. So, and we are good at many, many things. You know, some of them we earn a living at, and some of them we just do on a voluntary basis. You don't necessarily, you know, can do this. For example, you know, why is it that a lot of, I don't know if this is a stereotype, why is it a lot of scientists are not good at sport? Or you don't find them taking part in as much sport? Why? Okay, they, you know, again, they've chosen to go down one route and not necessarily develop another route as well. No, you can. You can do both things. You can do it in parallel. A lot of it is about time management and about a kind of personal organization. So this is also one of the things that I do. Unfortunately, time is really short. One of the modules I do is about time management. A lot of people say, how do I manage my time? You can manage your time. I guarantee you can. And you can organize your time so that you can play these multiple roles and you can develop your skills in multiple areas.
My question is that you mentioned that you should be proactive in your life, even for the good reasons. If you are working in the university, you should be proactive,
yes,
not reactive.
Yeah.
But the major development, the rapid development, the whole universe is basically reactive. It's the result of wars. During the war period.
Yeah.
That's basically the reactive approach. So how you justify it?
Yes, and in many ways, wars are reactive. If we were more proactive in conflict resolution, we wouldn't have war. So most of the wars we actually create and we predict. We can predict that the war's going to take place. You know, the same thing about the law of cause and effect. I can predict that a conflict is going to occur between two people, and the whole point we mentioned is that we create crisis. So it's actually most crisis is man-made. So I think, you know, that's important to recognize that, you know, if we were more proactive in conflict resolution, if we were more proactive in promoting understanding, if we were more proactive in social justice, more proactive in wealth distribution, more proactive in poverty alleviation, get rid of a lot of conflicts. But we're not. So that's why we create conflict. You know, and many of the conflicts that I see in Central Africa, where I've been, are man-made conflicts. Anyway, that point aside. Of course, I'm not saying completely, we have to be reactive. But the question I want you to all ask yourself is the ratio of how proactive to reactive that I am. If I am 80% reactive, 20% proactive, then I'm not in control of my life. Does that make sense? Everyone else is controlling my life. I feel powerless, and I am being dictated to by others, and I'm going to have more fears and anxieties. If I'm 80% proactive, 20% reactive, I'm more in control of my life. I'm defining my reality. I'm confident, I'm self-assured. Make sense, everyone? Yeah? So look at your own personal ratio of proactivity to reactivity. In particular, and it varies in different fields, and it might also vary mind, body, soul, family. I'll find that I'm more proactive on my body, less reactive on my family. Can you see? This is how we start to regulate our lives. When you're doing it in this way, you're much more effective and successful completely as a human being. And even with myself, there's times in my career and in my work where I'm very 80% reactive. No matter, I mean, I know the rules, I'm 80% reactive. And you know what? It's not good for my emotional health. It's called, the technical term is called running around like a headless chicken. You heard this term? Running like that, all over the place. Some people think that's good because they're doing lots of work. No, it's not good. It's not good. You burn out. You're running around like a headless chicken, you burn out. And then what do you need? I need some crack cocaine. Okay? I need need some drugs, I need some alcohol, I need some addiction, I need to, can you see? No good. So look at the ratio of proactivity to reactivity.
Right.
Can I take some questions on this side as well? Because I think quite a few people, this gentleman here and this gentleman here as well. Rob in the blue shirt.
Thank you.
Okay.
My question is how to explain to yourself or to others that there is fairness or justice in this life. I mean, regardless your...
Sorry, I didn't catch there is...
How to explain to yourself and to others that there is fairness or justice in this life.
Okay.
Especially by taking the example of, comparing between UK children and
Yes.
Uganda children.
Yes. Well, that example, okay, how do we demonstrate that there is fairness and justice in life? In many ways, we live in a profoundly unjust world. That's the sad reality. That we do live in a world where there is major injustice. There are currently in the world 1 billion people who live on $1 a day. This is a man-made situation. We can change this by wealth distribution. It can be changed. I think the European banks were given 300 billion pounds or 300 billion euros to get the banks out of problems. 300 billion euros could have solved the whole world's poverty issues. So there's profound inequality and injustice in the world. I think when we recognize that much of it is man-made and created by ourselves, we can solve the problem. Then we have to just gently. And it comes back to really the point, the simplest answer I can say is that be the change you want to see. There's no point saying, is there fairness and justice in the world? You be the most just and fair person that you can be and influence your environment. I always say, this is the thing about power. I haven't got power to change a government, but I have got power to change my sphere of influence. I have a sphere of influence, and you all have a sphere of influence. If I conduct myself in my sphere of influence in a particular way, maybe I can influence the people who I come into contact with. And if I can do that, and then we all do our bit, then this is how ideas change the world. This is how the power of ideas. So be the change you want to see. Become the most just and fair person yourself. And you'll find you'll emit an energy that certain people will then come with, people with the same mindset as you, will work with you, and you can start tackling big problems in that way. But that's, in my experience, this is the real way to do it. And I always find that organic change is better than revolutionary change. Organic change is when change comes from the bottom up. And it goes through every level of society. Revolutionary change is top-down. Top-down change is enforced. Revolution is often enforced on people. Whereas organic change means it grows. You see the difference? To me, organic change is much more how societies change meaningfully rather than revolutionary change.
Lovely. Pleasure to be here and listen to your lectures.
Thank you very much.
Classes. My question here goes, human beings are mortal. So there comes a point in everyone's life when you have to feel like how it feels to be without your loved ones or dear ones.
Yes.
And at such times, like sometimes your mind doesn't work properly and all your senses doesn't work together.
Yes.
So at that time, like I said, like someone ended up hurting themselves.
Yes.
And sometimes they cry themselves to sleep. And sometimes it happens something like they don't go to sleep, just fearing that they will see nightmares at times.
Yeah.
So what are the things that we should do for them in order to alleviate such feelings? Yeah, that's my question.
And you're right, bereavement, losing someone who is very close to you, we know that this is a very stressful experience for that individual, regardless of how resilient they are. It's a major transformation and change in their life. So therefore, if you know that someone has gone through that bereavement, yesterday we mentioned that, look, they need a very positive social network. Be there as a positive influence, befriend them, give them the social and emotional support that they need. Let me tell you, a lot of times, people say to me, when someone has a bereavement, most people, you know what they say to me? I don't know what to say to them. You know? Other people feel uncomfortable. I don't know what to say to them. And this is really about empathy now. Okay? And each person is difficult. Sometimes it's not about saying anything, it's just being there for the each person reacts, and one of the first things I began with yesterday is that you are unique. Each person is different in terms of how they react towards the situation. Each person has a different coping strategy. Some people have more spirituality and they believe in the hereafter. So they believe that they'll be united with their loved ones in the hereafter. That gives them peace and solace. Other people, they don't have that belief. And so therefore they are left with the positive memories of their loved ones when they knew and when they were here. And so I say to them, then use that positive example to energize you and motivate you in your life, so that you are a role model and represent, and so they continue to live on in you. So there's different ways each person has to be encouraged and motivated. It's that thing about connection as well. Your ability to connect with people on an emotional level. The more you are able to do that, the more you're able to support them and protect them. And also what I find is this, whether it's bereavement or anxiety or loss of a job or loss of your house or whatever, everyone already has the solution within them. And your role is just to kind of facilitate sometimes. Just help them find their own solution, with a particular situation, rather than dictate for them. So, the simplest way is that just be that positive social network and support for them in that time of need. Don't run away from them in that time, because I find it uncomfortable, or I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to behave. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm just curious, how can we deal with regret? I mean, I guess everyone is stressed out all the time because they regret something that they did in the past, and you can't forget it, and it just stays inside. So is there any way to deal with that?
Well, the thing about regret, just like with fear, it's a negative emotion, and that leads to negative consequences. It's a negative idea which leads to a negative consequence. And why regret, especially for young people, why regret creates so much distress is because you haven't got the benefit of hindsight. You see, when you look at your life as over the whole span of your life, you look back, and you'll see 20 years ago, and then you see the journey. This is the thing, you haven't seen the journey yet. And so that's why it's so easy to have regrets. When you haven't seen the whole, but when you see that in 20 years' time, that experience that you had there was critical in defining who you become in the future. Because that's the case, then you're able to rationalize it. You're not able to rationalize it now. So therefore, all I can say is this, that, don't have regrets, because it's a negative emotion. See it as either I do something or I don't do something. And don't, recognize that everything has a role to play in defining who you will become, positively. Like I said, it's all about the way that you look at the paradigm, whether it's positive or negative, whether you become, like I said, passive dependent or proactive and self-reliant. It's about how you define that situation. So, for example, let's say, and one of the slides actually, I didn't show you, and I'm not touching it, failure is good. I failed an exam. And you can look at it as regret. Oh, I failed it, I ruined my opportunity. Or you can see it that enabled me to become a better scholar and learner. Because it meant that I had to be, just like Rocky when he lost, he had to become a better fighter. So that's how if your paradigm is such, then you don't see it with regret. You see it as an opportunity, as something which is positive. In the same way I've mentioned about strengths and weaknesses yesterday, your self-esteem is based upon that I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. I'm not hiding from my weaknesses. And because of that, then you are going to be someone who is going to be, again, confident in moving forward. If I'm hiding all the time, then you're going to have an insecurity related to that. So regret, okay, at this point in your life, really, it's about your paradigm has to shift. Your way that you look at what that experience is. If you look at it, this is an experience that I've gone through. I've learned the lessons from that. I am a stronger and better person now. And in the next situation where which is similar to that, I'm going to deal with it in a better way. So, for example, I would say relationships for most people are probably the most challenging experiences that you have. And we don't get relationships right. And I would say, for me, the relationships that I've had, they taught me more about myself than anything else. And so therefore I learned lessons from them which helped me to improve my relationships in the future.